Good morning, champions. I want you to take a deep breath right now and really listen, because what I'm about to share with you today has the power to completely change the trajectory of your life. I don't say that lightly. I've spent over 30 years in the motivational space, studying what separates those who achieve extraordinary success from those who struggle just to get by. And let me tell you, it's not luck. It's not talent. It's not even timing. It's something much simpler, but incredibly powerful. Today, we are going to talk about what successful people do before 8 a.m. And I promise you, if you watch this video all the way to the end, you're going to walk away with a blueprint for winning your mornings, taking control of your day, and building unstoppable momentum in your life. I want you to think about your mornings for a moment. How do you start your day? Are you hitting snooze, scrolling on your phone, reacting to everyone else's priorities before you even have a chance to think for yourself? Or are you starting your day with intention, purpose, and discipline? Because here's the truth: whoever controls the morning controls the day. And the first victory of the day is internal, long before anyone sees it externally. So here's what I want you to do. Stay with me, don't click away, because I'm going to break down exactly what separates average people from the most successful people on this planet. We'll talk about the one habit that gives them clarity and control, the discipline that fuels momentum, and the personal growth routines that transform their lives before the world even wakes up. And as we go through this, I want you to be honest with yourself, because change doesn't happen until you admit where you're holding yourself back. Let's dive in, starting with the first secret of the morning champions. Control the morning before the world controls you. Control the morning before the world controls you. Most people don't realize this, but the day is already decided before it ever begins. By the time the sun is fully up, by the time messages start coming in, by the time notifications start buzzing, most people are no longer in control. They are responding. And the moment you start responding, you've surrendered authority over your life. Because whoever sets the agenda controls the outcome. And if you didn't set the agenda for your morning, someone else already did. The morning is not just a time on the clock. The morning is a mindset. It's the only part of the day where the world is quiet enough for you to hear your own thoughts. And if you skip that moment, if you rush past it, if you give it away to distractions, then you are volunteering to live life on default instead of design. Successful people understand that the first victory of the day is internal, not external. You don't win the day by checking your phone. You win the day by checking yourself. When you wake up and immediately consume information, you're letting other people's priorities become your priorities. News, messages, social media, emails, all of it is someone else's agenda knocking on the door of your mind. And if you open that door before you establish clarity, direction, and intention, you've already lost leverage. Control doesn't come from reacting faster. Control comes from deciding earlier. Successful people don't wake up asking what's urgent. They wake up asking what's important. There's a difference. Urgent things scream. Important things whisper. And the only way you hear the whisper is if you're quiet enough in the morning to listen. That's why the morning matters. It's the only time where your thinking isn't yet polluted by pressure, comparison, or chaos. The world wants your attention, but attention is currency. Wherever your attention goes, your life follows. If the first thing you give your attention to every day is confusion, noise, and distraction, don't be surprised when your life feels scattered and unfocused. But when you take control of the morning, you decide where your attention goes before anyone else gets a vote. Most people believe they don't have time in the morning. That's not true. They don't have priority. Time is not something you find, it's something you assign. And when you assign the morning to growth, clarity, and preparation, the rest of the day becomes easier, not harder. Discipline early creates freedom later. Control in the morning starts with how you wake up. If you wake up rushed, you train your nervous system to live in urgency. If you wake up intentionally, you train your mind to lead instead of follow. You don't need hours, you need ownership. Even a small window of focused, intentional time in the morning puts you ahead of the majority of people who are still half asleep mentally, even if they're physically awake. The morning is where identity is reinforced. What you do consistently before the world sees you determines who you become publicly. Private habits produce public outcomes. And if you don't like the outcomes in your life, it's not because of what you're doing on stage, it's because of what you're doing behind the scenes, especially in the morning. Successful people use the morning to remind themselves who they are and where they're going. They don't let circumstances define their state, they define their state first. Because when you don't decide your emotional state intentionally, you inherit whatever mood the environment hands you. Control the morning, and you control your emotional economy for the rest of the day. The morning is also where standards are set. Whatever standard you accept in the morning becomes the ceiling for the rest of the day. If you accept laziness early, productivity later becomes a struggle. If you accept clarity early, execution later becomes natural. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your routines, and morning routines are the foundation of that fall or rise. People who win don't wait to feel motivated. They move first. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is dependable. And discipline is easiest to practice before the world starts demanding things from you. Once demands pile up, discipline becomes harder. That's why the morning is sacred. It's protected time. It's pre-decision time. When you control the morning, you're telling yourself something powerful. My life matters enough to prepare for it. You're declaring that you are not an accident, not a victim of circumstances, not a product of randomness. You are a designer. And designers don't start their day reacting. They start by planning. Most people are exhausted not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too much of what doesn't matter. The morning gives you the opportunity to align your actions with your highest values before distractions dilute your focus. Alignment reduces friction. Misalignment creates stress. That's why some people seem calm under pressure, while others feel overwhelmed by simple tasks. Control the morning and you gain clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence produces decisive action. Decisive action compounds over time. This is not about waking up early to impress people. It's about waking up early enough to impress yourself. Because self-respect is built when your actions match your intentions. The reason many people feel behind in life is because they start every day behind. They wake up late, rush through the morning, skip preparation, and then spend the rest of the day trying to catch up. But you can't catch up to a life you never led intentionally. You have to start ahead, and the only way to start ahead is to control the morning. When you own the morning, you create a buffer between stimulus and response. And in that buffer lies power. Power to think, power to choose, power to act deliberately instead of impulsively. The world moves fast, but speed without direction leads to exhaustion, not success. Direction is established before the race begins, not during it. This is why successful people protect their mornings fiercely. They don't negotiate with distractions. They don't apologize for boundaries. They understand that every yes to noise is a no to purpose. And purpose requires space. Space to think, space to plan, space to become. The morning is not about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a repeatable one, something that signals to your mind and body that you are in charge. That signal, repeated daily, reshapes identity. And identity drives behavior more than willpower ever could. Control the morning and you stop living at the mercy of emergencies. You stop being surprised by predictable outcomes. You stop blaming circumstances for patterns you never interrupted. Because once you take ownership of the beginning of your day, you begin taking ownership of the direction of your life. The morning is where leaders are made long before followers appear. It's where discipline is practiced in silence, where clarity is forged without applause, where momentum is created before resistance shows up. And once momentum exists, even obstacles become fuel. People often ask how to stay focused in a distracted world. The answer is not found in willpower, it's found in preparation. Focus is not maintained, it's established. And it's established first thing in the morning, when the mind is fresh, the environment is quiet, and the future is still unwritten. If you don't control the morning, you will spend the rest of the day trying to regain control. And most people never do. They live in reaction, exhaustion, and regret, wondering why life feels chaotic, not realizing the chaos started the moment they handed their morning away. Discipline over feelings creates momentum. Most people believe success is about talent, luck, or waiting for the right moment. That's a lie. Success is not about how you feel in any given moment. Feelings are unreliable, unpredictable, and fleeting. You cannot build a life of wealth, impact, or influence based on moods or emotions. If you wait to feel motivated, inspired, or energized, you will wait forever. You will always find an excuse to do less, delay, or compromise. Discipline over feelings is the only reliable way to generate momentum and build a life that consistently produces results. The moment you understand this, your life changes. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not deprivation. Discipline is the act of choosing what must be done, regardless of what you feel. It's showing up even when your mind and body are begging for comfort. And here's the truth. Momentum doesn't come from comfort. It comes from action. Small, consistent actions taken with discipline compound over time into unstoppable progress. Most people confuse action with motivation. They believe that before they can do anything meaningful, they must feel like it. That's why millions wake up and immediately surrender to distraction. They wait for inspiration, they wait for energy, and by the time they decide they are ready, the day is gone. The winners don't wait for feelings. They create results, and results create feelings. Action produces emotion, not the other way around. Discipline is what separates those who talk about change from those who live it. You can plan, dream, and visualize all you want, but if you lack the discipline to follow through, your life will remain the same. Discipline is the bridge between desire and reality. Without it, desire becomes frustration and potential becomes regret. Momentum is a product of repeated, intentional, disciplined actions. The more you act with discipline, the stronger your momentum becomes, and momentum turns small victories into unstoppable progress. Think about it this way. Your feelings are like the weather. They change constantly. Some days are sunny, some days are stormy. If you wait for perfect weather to take action, you will never move. Discipline, however, is the engine that keeps you going regardless of the weather. Discipline allows you to push through resistance, doubt, and fatigue. Discipline builds resilience. Momentum feeds on discipline. Every time you act despite resistance, you increase your speed, your confidence, and your capacity to achieve more. The most successful people in the world do not rely on fleeting moods. They operate on principles, routines, and habits that are stronger than feelings. They understand that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. They understand that waiting for motivation is a trap. If you want to create a life of freedom, abundance, and influence, you cannot wait to feel like it. You must act first, and your feelings will follow. Consistency is the key. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up when you don't feel like it. It means keeping your commitments to yourself even when it's hard. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce your identity. You tell yourself, I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done. And identity is powerful. Who you believe you are will dictate what you do, and what you do consistently shapes your life. Momentum is the reward of repeated discipline over time. Discipline over feelings is also about priorities. Most people act based on what feels urgent, what feels easy, or what feels good in the moment. Winners act based on what is important, what is necessary, and what will create long-term results. They don't wait for the right emotion, they choose the right action, and when you consistently make decisions based on importance rather than comfort, you create a trajectory that compounds daily. Momentum is the natural outcome. Resistance is part of the process. There will be mornings when your body is tired, your mind is restless, and your emotions are weak. Most people will surrender to that resistance. They will stay in bed, scroll through their phones, or distract themselves with meaningless activity. But discipline is not the absence of resistance. Discipline is taking action despite it. Every time you push through, you add energy to your momentum bank account. Momentum grows with each decision to act against the pull of comfort. discomfort. Momentum is deceptive. When it's present, it feels effortless, like the results are coming naturally. But behind that effortless appearance is countless decisions made with discipline. Every early morning workout, every disciplined learning session, every focused task completed before distraction sets in builds invisible force. That force carries you forward even when feelings falter. Momentum is the engine that transforms small, disciplined actions into extraordinary outcomes. Discipline over feelings also protects you from regret. Most people regret the moments when they surrendered to temporary discomfort or negative emotion. They regret the projects left incomplete, the opportunities ignored, and the dreams abandoned. Discipline eliminates regret because it ensures that you consistently act in alignment with your goals, regardless of what you feel. Momentum protects your future by ensuring that every day counts. Energy follows action, not the other way around. Waiting to feel motivated is a trap. Action generates energy. Discipline turns that energy into focus. Focus turns that focus into achievement. Achievement compounds into momentum. Momentum propels you past obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. Momentum is the natural consequence of discipline applied consistently over time without dependence on emotion. Discipline is not only about doing, it's about who you become. Every act of self-control reinforces your ability to make better choices tomorrow. The more disciplined you are, the easier it becomes to resist distraction, to maintain focus, and to execute at higher levels. Momentum is the side effect of this continuous refinement of your identity. Your life accelerates because your character, not your feelings, is in charge. Most people underestimate how powerful discipline is in shaping outcomes. They focus on inspiration, luck, and circumstances. The truth is, discipline outperforms inspiration. Discipline over feelings is the engine behind every accomplishment. Every successful person, every great performer, every high achiever understood this secret. Your feelings are unreliable, but your discipline is dependable. Momentum doesn't wait for your mood, it responds to your consistency. Momentum is cumulative. It grows slowly at first, but accelerates over time. The more disciplined actions you take, the more velocity you gain. Small, consistent wins early in the day compound into extraordinary results in weeks, months, and years. Feelings fluctuate, but disciplined action never fails to produce acceleration. Momentum is not magic. It is the logical result of disciplined effort. When you operate from discipline instead of emotion, you stop making excuses. You stop negotiating with temporary discomfort. You stop allowing circumstances to dictate your productivity or your mood. You take ownership, and ownership multiplies your results. Momentum emerges naturally because your actions are consistent, intentional, and unwavering. Discipline over feelings creates freedom. Most people confuse freedom with lack of responsibility. True freedom comes from control, and control comes from discipline. Momentum is what allows you to expand your influence, grow your skills, and achieve your goals faster than the people who wait for emotion to lead. The person who masters discipline controls their trajectory. Momentum is the reward for that mastery. The reality is simple. No one ever feels motivated every day. Motivation is inconsistent, unreliable, and fleeting. Discipline is consistent, reliable, and cumulative. Every time you choose discipline over feelings, you reinforce the behaviors that generate momentum. Momentum becomes unstoppable because it's no longer dependent on luck, circumstance, or temporary emotions. When you commit to discipline, you are investing in the future. Every act of self-control, every decision to act when you don't feel like it, compounds. It compounds in your skill, in your confidence, in your focus, and in your results. Momentum is the natural consequence of this compounded effort. Feelings will always fluctuate, but disciplined action builds a life that does not. Discipline over feelings is the foundational principle of high performance. It is the difference between those who achieve their goals and those who merely dream about them. The people who accomplish extraordinary things are not the ones who feel ready. They are the ones who act. They are the ones who do the work regardless of emotion. They are the ones who convert small, consistent efforts into unstoppable momentum. Momentum is the reward. Momentum is the engine that drives results. Momentum is what allows small actions to create exponential outcomes. But momentum is built on discipline. If you surrender to feelings, momentum collapses. If you act consistently despite feelings, momentum grows. And momentum is what separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. Most people underestimate the power of small, disciplined choices. They look for big breakthroughs, shortcuts, and miracles. But the truth is, momentum is quiet. It is invisible at first. It grows incrementally. It requires patience. It requires the courage to do what is necessary, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline over feelings is the secret that makes momentum inevitable. The people who win in life understand this principle. They know that feelings will betray them. They know that motivation is unreliable. They know that the world will not wait for them to feel ready. They act anyway. They create systems, routines, and habits that enforce discipline. And as they act, momentum emerges. That momentum carries them farther, faster, and higher than they ever imagined. Every time you choose action over emotion, you reinforce the muscle of discipline. Every time you resist the temptation to delay, you build momentum. And momentum, once it exists, transforms your life. It turns small wins into massive results, ordinary routines into extraordinary outcomes, and average days into extraordinary ones. Discipline over feelings is the law. Momentum is the result. And those who understand this law, those who live by this principle, are unstoppable. Personal growth before work produces success. Most people wake up and immediately dive into tasks. They check emails, scroll social media, respond to messages, and jump straight into obligations without thinking about themselves. They believe productivity is about doing, about activity, about busyness. That is a misconception. Productivity without personal growth is like trying to fill a cracked bucket. You pour in effort, but the results leak away. True success begins with personal growth before you touch anything else. The moment you commit to developing yourself first, before the chaos of work, is the moment your life begins to change. Personal growth is not a luxury, it is a prerequisite. Your income, influence, and impact will never permanently exceed your own development. The books you read, the ideas you study, the skills you sharpen, and the reflection you practice all compound over time. They don't produce instant gratification, but they produce results that last. When you invest in yourself before you invest in your work, you create a foundation for performance, creativity, and decision-making that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The average person treats personal growth like an optional add-on. They wake up, go to work, come home, and are too tired for reflection, learning, or planning. They think they will catch up later. But life doesn't wait, and success is not forgiving. Every day spent neglecting personal growth is a day you fall behind. Every morning you dedicate to upgrading yourself is a morning that compounds into advantage over time. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary achievers is how they prioritize their own development before their responsibilities. Personal growth also builds vision. When you dedicate time to learning, thinking, and reflecting, you begin to see patterns and opportunities that others miss. You can anticipate problems, identify solutions, and innovate. Most people are blind to possibilities because they spend all their time reacting to immediate tasks. Growth first allows you to rise above the noise, to position yourself strategically, and to make choices that create compounding results. The best leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers all share this principle. They prioritize personal growth before work. They understand that mastery of self precedes mastery of circumstance. If you want to lead, influence, or succeed, you cannot outsource your personal growth. It is your responsibility. You must be proactive. You must create time for reflection, learning, and self-improvement before you touch your projects, your clients, or your responsibilities. Personal growth is not passive. It requires intentionality, structure, and consistency. It requires prioritizing yourself over distractions, over urgency, and over the easy temptation to dive into action without preparation. You don't grow by accident. You grow by design, by discipline, and by deliberate focus. And when you make growth the first priority, the results in your work, your relationships, and your income naturally follow. Most people underestimate the impact of investing in themselves before work. They think they can catch up later, that they can fill gaps on the fly, that they can learn through mistakes. While learning from experience is necessary, preparation reduces mistakes and accelerates success. Growth first means you show up to your work smarter, more capable, and more prepared than anyone else. It multiplies productivity and creates long-term advantage. Personal growth before work is also about identity. Who you are becoming matters more than what you are doing. Actions without the right identity are inconsistent. Results without the right mindset are fragile. When you grow first, you strengthen your identity, your habits, your mindset, and your skills. That identity supports everything you do. The work you engage in becomes an extension of who you are becoming, rather than a frantic attempt to meet external demands. The moment you begin your day by improving yourself, by sharpening your mind, by strengthening your habits, you create momentum that carries through everything else. You become more effective, more focused, more creative, and more capable of achieving results. Personal growth is not optional. It is the first step, the foundation, and the multiplier for all success. If you want more insights like this, strategies, routines, and secrets that can literally change the way you live, think, and act, then hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications, because Myron Golden Insights is where we break down exactly how champions win every single day. And before you go, take a moment to comment below. Tell me which of these 3 pillars you're going to start implementing tomorrow morning. I want to see your commitment. I want to see your growth, because success is a choice, and your choice starts before 8 a.m. Don't just watch this video, use it, apply it, and let it transform your mornings, your discipline, your growth, and your results.